Dire team ban.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Western Digital Dota 2 presentation of Arrow Gaming vs Titan, a best of 5 in the grand final of the series number 1 for $500. It's been a while since I got to say that, as we have had a bit of a break in the tournament here, but finally getting the schedule all set in stone, and now we get to see these two giants of the Malaysian scene come into play, and this is going to be an awesome match. I can't wait to see what these two teams bring. There's some interesting back and forth over the past few days. Their past few series have been kind of either or, but right now Titan seems to be leading 2-0 in the most recent exchange, and yeah, we'll have to see what Arrow has to offer to answer back for this one here. Some money on the line after all. But thank you guys so much for tuning in here on Dota Talk TV 2 or in Dota TV. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the commentary brought to you by myself, Blaze, and joined by Whiplash. What's going on?
I'm excited to be casting some more finals. Recently wrapped up the Korean Dota 2 League Finals Season 1 just a couple days ago, so very happy to be back casting with you once again, Blaze. It has been a little bit since we've casted together. There, like you mentioned, a bit of a gap in the Western Digital Series, but really excited to be casting to these teams. They've been playing a lot against each other recently, I've noticed. So a little bit of back and forth action, but I definitely feel like Titan, they do have kind of the edge here. But, you know, we'll have to see what these teams try to do.
Yeah. One thing to mention is that yesterday Arrow was running a lot of experimental picks. They picked a Skywrath mage support in Captain's mode. That's very uncommon, and yeah, I think they're kind of getting back to their roots a little bit. You're picking up the Shadow Shaman and Sand King early, very active roaming supports that with a Blink Dagger on either of them can unlock huge new potential for the hero. So really strong selections, but of course Invoker and Nyx Assassin are really high tier as well. I mean, getting that level of domination, maybe it's going to be Yamate, maybe it's KYXY running on the mid lane Invoker, but either way, you put some good experience in his hands, and he's going to be able to do a lot of work there. And of course, Nyx Assassin, flexible hero, really good in the offlane, and solid as a support as well. But the banning stage really doesn't seem to be that surprising. I mean, is there anything amiss here as far as what you're seeing?
Not really too much. I know Titan loves to run that Centaur a lot. So actually a little bit surprised that Arrow didn't go ahead and grab that from Titan, and I'm also not surprised that Arrow grabbed the Sand King as well early on, because Titan, when you put net on that Sand King, he can be pretty darn hard to deal with. He's a really good initiator, and Arrow do like to pick up Shadow Shaman a lot as well. It's a pretty normal hero for them. Nothing too crazy so far. Seems to be pretty standard picks and bans across the board.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I mean, the Darkslayer ban is pretty interesting here. I guess just making sure that they don't have the combination where you can vacuum them all into some multi-man burrow strikes and maybe even a gigantic epicenter on top of Ether Shock. I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of magical damage, especially the Ether Shock being one of the highest magical damage nukes out there, up to 320 damage on 7 targets. That's actually pretty insane. And so the clustering aspect, I didn't have to be a little bit concerned about that. Even if you ban out a Darkseer, there's still the aspect of clumping in the team fights itself, and you have to be constantly aware of your positioning against a team like Arrow, especially if they're going to maybe be looking to pick up something like a Naga Siren, which is still in the pool.
Yeah, absolutely, Blaze. And just taking a little bit closer look at the bans from Titan, I see that they've decided to remove Slark from play. And that is a hero that Arrow has put in the offlane occasionally, so I guess they just want to make sure that that hero is out of the question, and okay, good. Ancient Apparition out of the picture as well. I'm glad to see that guy on the ban list, because he can be a very potent support hero. And Titan, they already have a good amount of disable with the Nyx Assassin, even if he does go into that offlane role, which we do see occasionally from Titan, but they also do play him in the safe lane, I think maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, with a little bit of good lockdown, I can see the AA being pretty useful for them as well. But Arrow. There we go. There's the Emperor Spirit. I'm actually really surprised he made it this far through the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those heroes that has a lot of potential to be shut down if you draft him too early, but if you draft him at just the right time, you can find a very good niche for him. And going up mid, 1 versus 1 against Invoker, if they do decide to run him in a number 2 role, is actually going to be quite effective. Of course, Invoker does some good physical damage if he goes for the Forge Spirit build, and that's kind of to the dismay of the Ember Spirit player, but I don't know. It feels right. It feels like we've seen DDZ wreck face on Ember Spirit in the past. People don't respect him enough on that hero, and when they get some real traction, some real momentum in the game, they can just completely snowball out of control, and it could get out of Titan's hands very quickly.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the Ember Spirit Invoker matchup, when they go for Exhort, the Invoker generally does a little bit better early on versus the Ember Spirit, but as it goes to late game, then those extra Forged Spirits are actually extra cleave targets for your Sleight of Fist ability, so they kind of become a bit of a liability later on, but it has to definitely be the late game for that to happen. So if this Invoker goes for a Quas Exhort build, then I'm totally cool with it.
Dire team pick.
So an interesting selection here to follow through, the Rubik to try to counteract it. Of course, if you spell steal the Ember Spirit's ultimate, then you instantly get all 3 of the Fire Remnants. Of course, Shadow Shaman's wards are also a pretty convenient steal as well. Hex is an instant cast animation to follow up after the wards, but if you open up with the Hex and then follow through the wards, Rubik has a good, let's say, half a second time frame where he could get a really solid spell steal off. In general, of course, he's mostly just going to be running Burrow Strike, and that's perfectly fine as well. But the bottom line is now they have a number 5 support. If they want to give him a little bit of farm, give him a little bit of mobility items, great. But if not, he can just be the warder and just trying to keep vision across the map, which, as I mentioned, is going to be really important. Shadow Shaman and the Sand King are going to go through smokes so quickly in the early game, and from there, it's going to be all about smart movements against the enemy's wards, and Rubik definitely can get the upper hand on that, and X and Net are both very formidable players on heroes like Rubik and Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, so definitely I like what you mentioned about the Smoke Ganking Blaze. The Shadow Shaman Sand King combo, it's pretty much asking just to do a lot of Smoke Ganking early on, and if you give the Ember Spirit a little bit of a boost early on, then he's generally going to be in a very strong spot. But this looks to be our offlaner coming out from Arrow Gaming. It's going to be the Bristleback, so what do you think about this pickup, Blaze?
Really powerful in his own right. Of course, they don't have the option to doom him. They don't have the option to stop him from being healed back up. Those are the 2 bans that kind of made this pick really, really powerful. There is still some negative armor mechanics on the line, but in general, if they just want to run him as a number 3, as you mentioned, just offlane him, they're not committing too many resources to him, but he can still get very big and become a very real threat. You don't focus him down, he's just going to keep stacking up that warpath and dish out a lot of physical damage, and if you start focusing him, that Bristleback passive really starts kicking in. So it almost seems like they want to avoid fights with this Clinks pickup. They want to go for kind of focus fire on the supports, maybe get an Orchid up early and just try to track them down in the jungle, and then make sure that they don't have to fight head-to-head, because once Bristleback gets either his mech or his pipe up, I guess not pipe in this case, but once he gets his mech up, this is actually going to be a very, very strong pickup for them.
Yeah, and to add on to both the Bristleback and Clinks picks, Bristleback, that does give Arrow a good mech holder, which I feel the Sand King and Shadow Shaman don't necessarily pick up that item as much. They want to get their mobility items like the Blink Daggers and Force Staffs and such. And the Clinks from Titan, he's all about just, that burst heavy physical damage, which is pretty good against the Ember Spirit. You can just really burst him down very fast with searing arrows if you're not too careful on the Ember Spirits. And we're literally fighting fire with fire. So that's what I think about these 2 last pickups. And Arrow, they have banned out the Elder Titan. We're going to wait and see what Titan plans on doing for their last ban. And any heroes do you think kind of pop up in your head, Blaze, as potential last picks for either squad?
It's hard to say. I mean, right now we haven't really seen a Lance hero. Ember Spirit and Bristleback aren't really heroes that Lance likes to run, so he likes to run more farm-reliant heroes. But something that can survive against what's on the board for Titan is obviously going to be an option. Right now they're banning out the Templar Assassin, assuming that Ember Spirit's going to be in a number 1 role, but I could easily see a big pickup of a carry like Luna or something like that for early game team fight. I mean, the only BKB carrier on Titan right now is Clinks, and he doesn't get that much later compared to most carries, so I could say something like a Luna would be pretty appropriate.
Yeah, I'd be down with the Luna pick. Who knows, maybe even Mirana could be in the pool for Arrow Gaming. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about these last 2 picks, but I am liking both rosters so far. They both provide a lot of disables. They both provide a lot of straight up damage. I'd say Arrow looks to have a little bit more tankability, and Titan has, I guess, a little bit more utility.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can. They don't have as much AoE going for them, just really the Impale as the big AoE stun. The Telekinesis aspect of the secondary stun could come into play, but I'm not so sure about it. Either way, right now, they seem to have okay control over the lanes, but I'm not so sure about the team fights. It's pretty interesting that you mentioned the Mirana, since there she is, first of all.
Whoa,
and second of all, she has like right now, in the past week, like a 96% pick/ban rate for any competitive game. So I don't know how much Cloud9's been playing recently, but yeah, Mirana is a prime pickup, and it's going to be doing work here now. I'm curious to see if they run her as a carry, or how the lanes are really going to pan themselves out, but one way or another, she does add a lot of utility with her skill set.
Well, I did see Arrow run the Mirana against Titan quite recently, so I do imagine it's going to be a Lance hero in that position 1 role, and I mean, they have the heroes to make this an offensive tri-lane, but I'm not sure if they're going to do that. Generally, if you pick the Sand King, it's nice to kind of have him farm in the jungle. But okay, so Titan, their last pick is the Lion, which pretty much means this Nyx Assassin is going to be Ohio in the off lane, and this Clinks is going to be in the position 1 role, Blaze. Yeah,
that's actually pretty interesting. I mean, that's kind of what I expected to some extent, but even so, to make it panned out here, putting the Nyx Assassin in this position, he doesn't really offer that much to the lane. The supports, of course, are going to be able to roam pretty freely, and if Nyx oversteps pretty much anywhere into the dire jungle, then he's going to have a hard time. But, of course, he is pretty high impact once he breaches level 6 and is able to be more active on the map. I mean, you think about how much Arrow now have to put into Sentry Wards, dealing with both the vendetta of a core Nyx Assassin, as well as, of course, the Clinks.
Yeah. If Arrow goes for the offensive tri-lane, I'd actually be pretty okay with that. Giving Bristleback an easy lane to farm against the Nyx Assassin, I definitely would favor that on Arrow's end, and they do have a lot of kill potential if they want to go for an offensive tri-lane, but it comes down if they want to do that or not.
Yep, hard to say, but we'll have to see how things shape up as they progress forward. It looks like starting things off, let's look over at the side of Titan and introduce the teams. Once again, this is the Western Digital Dota 2 Pro Series, and this is the finals of Series number 1. So looking over the side of Titan, we do see that Yamate is going to be carrying it up on the Clinks, the Bone Fletcher, starting off with the early Ring of Protection towards Basilius. We're going to be looking over at Rubik, that is Extinct, playing on him as a support. We're going to be looking at KYXY running on the Invoker, being pulled 2 tangos, starting off with the Null Talisman and Exhort buildup. This leaves Net to run on the Lion support, full wards for him. And Ohio is actually starting off with a Poor Man Shield, being pulled 2 tangos himself. Pretty interesting there.
Yeah. And if we go ahead and check out Arrow's lineup, we're going to have Johnny on Shadow Shaman. Lance will be handling that position 1 Mirana hard carry. In the offlane, we're going to have the Shining Zai as the Bristleback. And moving over to the support, it's going to be a Sand King, and that's going to be Mausen. And finally, in the mid lane, it's DDZ handling that classic Ember Spirit, which we have been seeing so much of in the recent metagame of Dota 2.
Yeah, as far as ways to lock him down, once they get the Orchid online for Clinks, assuming that's what Yamate wants to go for, they'll be feeling pretty comfortable, but until then, I don't really think they have enough. I mean, Cold Snap is good, the Hex is really long even at rank 1, but for the most part, he's going to be able to persist through most of their burst if he goes for a Flame Guard build, or try to just be on the offensive with the Sleight of Fist build, and if he gets good traction, like I said, he's going to be able to do a lot of work here, and it looks like that's what they want to set him up for. Early smoke here, up from the high ground, and Arrow Gaming could easily get a first blood on this Invoker.
Yeah, they certainly could. Invoker's going to have to be very, very careful. He doesn't want to get killed off early, and I'm just waiting for those supports. They've split up for the time being. Okay, if Shadow Shaman, they're moving around the back. It looks like he wants to start this off with Shakas. Can they get KYXY? Alright, they're moving in.
Oh, Searing Chains! They get it!
Searing Chains is good. Alright, there's a Shackle follow-up. We need the stun from Sand King. If he gets the stun, okay. That's gonna pretty much be a first blood. There it is. Goes to the Sand King. Probably have an early Blink Dagger on him.
Man, that Searing Chains Very, very fortunate that they got that. Obviously, KOXY was in a good enough position to avoid the shackles coming in from the Shadow Shaman. Most likely expected that, but the Searing Chains level 1 was exactly what they needed to get in range for their abilities, and that gives a huge advantage to, of course, Arrow Gaming. I mean, KOXY has to walk back to lane, has missed out on some juicy experience, and here's DDZ just starting off on the right foot here.
Yeah, absolutely, and as an Ember Spirit, once you kind of get the ball rolling, you're going to have a great time throughout the
Oh, whoa, match. I didn't actually notice. Look at bottom rune spawn. Bristleback got set up on the cliff by the Rubik. So as great as the first blood was in mid, I think this is even more painful if Xiangzai has to sit here for 3 full minutes because of that lack of the Flying Courier.
Oh, that just sucks. I have to feel for him, man. He's going to get no experience either. He's literally useless. So yeah, who cares about the first blood that Arrow got? Titan, I mean, they pretty much just removed someone from the game for at least another like minute and a half or so, and if they keep some really good control in that area, then I mean, who knows how long Bristleback is going to be up there for.
Now there are ways to actually get the TP scroll up the cliff. Like there's this one little spot right here on the eastern side of it that if you have a ground courier and drop it like on the cliff itself, you can actually bring it up and put it in position, but it looks like they're just waiting it out for the 3-minute timer. Going to try to go for the Flying Courier so that the ground one doesn't get sniped by the supports below. And in the meantime, it looks like Ned is just going to right-click him down very gradually, but nevertheless effectively.
I don't know if he can actually kill him. Maybe with some help from his teammate, the Rubik who put him up there in the first place. I guess they want to eventually pick him off, which kind of makes sense because eventually the courier will come, but well, DDZ not too far away. He's thinking about it. What's he going to do though? I think he just wants to keep his teammate alive for the time being.
He can even give him some bottle sips if he really wants to, some health, some mana, make sure that he can get out of there. But right now the ground courier is still on its way. Finally gets the TP scroll heading that way, and my goodness, was this a setback. I mean, the Bristleback was going to be a prime player in these fights. Actually, we do see Ember Spirit starting things off nicely against the Rubik, but the secondary stun for telekinesis makes it so that Johnny can't get in range for shackles. So yeah, they're falling behind compared to what they look like they were going to be starting out for with that first blood. This is not how Arrow expected this to go.
Yeah, definitely not. It's like the first blood doesn't even really matter, Blaze. Finally, the town portal scroll does get into the hands of this Bristleback, but the thing is, there are 2 disables there just waiting to interrupt that town portal scroll. So unless we see multiple members from Arrow commit to defending Bristleback, I mean, I think he's eventually just going to die.
Yeah. Just pretty much stuck in a permanent kinetic field with a bit of uphill mischance here. They'll grab the haste rune up if they feel like it, and otherwise they're just going to do enough damage. Now that Bristleback is out of mana, he will fall, and that is going to go to Rubik as well. So it just gives a great solo lane experience to Yamate. I mean, he's 1 versus 0. He's taken down almost all of this tower's HP, and now finally the level 2 Bristleback makes its way to the bottom lane, like so far behind.
Yeah, that's really gotta hurt, being that far behind. Level 2 to level 5 difference. That's certainly not what Arrow was looking for, but I guess we'll have to see if they can come back from that deficit, at least in the off lane. All the other lanes for them look to be going pretty decent. The top lane, definitely nothing going wrong for Arrow. But at the same time, Ohio, he's level 4. He's gotten a good amount of experience, and he's been able to even get a few last hits in that offline, up to 11.
Yeah, so not too bad since the supports have been focused elsewhere for the most part, but you also have to consider, I mean, Mirana doesn't have the highest last base damage. She does have the Basilius now, but even still is only hitting for an average of 62 right-click, so I could see Nyx Assassin throwing a few punches. Ohio actually has a pretty interesting Nyx Assassin build. I've seen in the past that he actually, forgoing the standard of the Blink Arcanes type thing, he actually goes for like a Poor Man's Shield phase boots and actually does a hell of a lot of right-click damage, which provides some unexpected burst against these low armor supports. So I'm curious to see if that'll be the way he goes or if he's just going to go for the standard. Either way, going to be a prime player in the next little bit. Bristleback now starting to bounce back into it, but still level 2. He's really far, and I mean, going up against the Clinks, I mean, couple of searing arrows his way, and that's half his HP bar.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Bristleback, that is true. And he doesn't really have too much items yet. I think he's getting some boots of speed to help him out a little bit in that lane. Maybe It'll allow him to move a little bit farther in the map, but in the middle lane, we're going to have a lift followed by a cold snap, and DDZ is in a lot of trouble. We're going to see a rotation from a few of the supports. In come Arrow, Sand King doing a little bit of damage. We have KYXY shackled up, he's going to fall, and the person that needed to die here on Arrow's side, Ember Spirit, he's still alive and well.
Yeah, now the Bristleback will be picked off underneath this tier 2 tower. Clinks dove deep for that one, using the searing arrows and making sure that by activating it as a spell, he doesn't aggro the tower. But yeah, on that mid lane, that was so good for Arrow. I mean, like I said, they have a lot for the Ember Spirit. They have a lot of spells that, in theory, should be enough to bring him down, but they don't really pack that punch just yet, being only level 3 on the supports. Yeah, the Bristleback wasn't getting any experience, but the Lion and Rubik away from lane, they didn't get too much themselves either, and that lack of burst damage really cost them the kill. On top of that, such a good burrow strike from Mosin. Two-man burrow strike, the Sandstorm, setting up the turnaround kills. That was really, really solid for Arrow, and yeah, of course, Lance gets more space created up on top.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to as well just state that Sand King was very important in making that strategy work, and you know, he has 2 kills. He's starting to stack up some creeps as well in the jungle. He's on his way to getting a pretty early Blink Dagger. And it is going to be the Mana Boots as well on the next Assassin, by the way. So not that crazy Phase Boots build you were talking about.
Yeah, and that means the line doesn't have to put too much into mana drain. Oh, he still does get 1 point in it, but still they get to kind of fight as a team a little bit more actively, and that's a really good utility item as a whole. Do have the Statsman bringing something up. DDZ is nearly on par with Arteezy's Ember Spirit with 14 kills for every 3 deaths. That's actually an extremely good KDA and exactly what you need as an Ember Spirit. You're very in and out, you're very active, and have a lot of kill potential once you make it to that mid to late game status. And we have seen some games where he just absolutely dominates. So I'm really curious if they're going to let DDZ get out of control or if they're going to get a handle on this situation.
Yeah, the first gank they tried on DDZ, it was good, but you know, it did lack that punch, and the punch is going to come from the Sklinks, I feel, because the rest of Titan, they're kind of about the disables and the stuns, and with the Vendetta from Nick's Assassin, you can bring some burst, but it's still a little bit early in the game.
Yeah, pretty big chunks of HP taken out from the Clinks, so he can force back, Bristleback multiple times over. I mean, look at those searing arrows. It takes out a huge chunk of his HP. But still, he gets the full experience from these creep waves, no denies, as the supports have already taken their leave. I mean, the bottom tier one's down. What more is there to do but smoke it up? So we do see the haste active on Ohio. He's going to be leading the charge for this smoke gank attempt, and with 4 heroes here instead of 3, they do have a lot of potential against Ember, but it looks like they're just going to be mean to poor old Xiangzai. They're going to be going in and getting pretty much the easiest kill of their life right here.
Yeah, poor Xiangzai. Alright, out comes the burning arrows, there's a stun, and Invoker, KYXY, just going to go ahead, use a Sunstray, grab the kill for himself as well as the experience. I also want to point out that KYXY already has a hand of Midas, so despite being 1 and 2, he's been able to at least farm pretty decently in this lane. 44 last hits.
Yeah. And they commit the Mass Serpent Wards to the top tier 1. This kind of gives free reign for Titan to go for the bottom tier 2 if they wish, because I mean that ultimate isn't really, it was pretty much the highest impact spell they had previously. The Mirana's Moonlight Shadow is nice, but it's for subterfuge, not for actual brute force fights. Here on the mid lane, do see an Impale going out on the Ember Spirit, and with that big Vendetta right click, they're going to be able to bring him down, no problem at all. So a good bait to some extent by KOXY, but just a little overzealous on the Ember Spirit.
Yeah, that's kind of the weakness of Ember Spirit. Sometimes you just want to go out there and you know, be on the front lines, do the damage you can, and before you're able to back out, you're kind of bursting down the depth. But I do want to mention that Lance has really not been farming at the same level that Yamate has as far as the safe lane position ones ago. Clinks up to 74 last hits compared to the 55 of the Mirana, so that is quite a noticeable difference, and in that difference we already have the Orchid done on Clinks, so that's going to give him a lot of extra disable and silence when it comes to these fights, and really pickoffs on the arrow players.
Yeah, this Orchid Malevolence could be the game-defining pickup. I mean, even right here, a Cold Snap, and this is the death of DDZ. Like, he's relying so much on his Fire Remnants to escape out, but Wall of Silence, not an option. And, of course, the amplification of damage, the continuous mana regen, is just the perfect item for him in this situation. In fact, Sand King has a great timing of his Blink Dagger, is smoked up, but if they can find him out, the Orchid has a pretty long range, and he can even get the silence off on the Epicenter, which was just completely shut down Arrow's team fight. Still, it looks like they're going to go for it as the push on the mid-tier 1 ensues.
Okay, well, Titan deciding they do not necessarily want to commit. Nyx Assassin's vendetted up around the tier 1 tower, around that high ground. It's backing off. So not a huge commitment from Titan. They're deciding that they just want to play it safe, back up, farm a little bit more. And Yamate moving towards that bottom lane. Yeah, we're seeing Bristleback just teleport out there, going up to the top lane. He does not want to be picked off solo by that Clinks.
Radiant's bottom tower is
Gonna see an arrow fly out from Rana. Just gonna hit on a Fort Spirit, unfortunately. I mean, that's really the first time that Rana's done anything impactful on the map. It looks like he just wants to straight up rush that Dota Lincolns, and it will be pretty effective against a couple of different things. Of course, stopping the Clinks' Orchid, as well as the Cold Snap, both very, very painful disables. And in fact, the line's Hex is a really big deal as well. We do see some back and forth on both sides, and it looks like they're grouping up again, maybe to do some more smoke action, but I don't know. It's just, right now, Arrow, they seem to need to get their ducks in a row. They have right now a lot of pressure on them. Ohio actually missing the stun. Wow, that's surprising. Ohio was vendetted up, didn't go for the right click to actually deal damage to Mirana, and then his stun didn't even hit in the first place, so I'm not sure about that decision making. But anyways, like I said, they really do have the gun to their head. Now we see the Moonlight Shadow come through, and they should be able to get this kill online. Yeah,
Net, he's almost assuredly dead. In comes the Sheep, and there's a few follow-up right clicks. Oh, wow. Oh, okay, never mind. Lance gets the last hit. So that actually works out pretty well for Arrow, but it almost looked like he was going to save. And in the mid lane, a lot of action. Looks like the Sunstrike's going to get a nice, easy kill on Ember Spirit. I don't know, man. Ember Spirit was doing great early on, Blaze, but he's been getting picked off left and right for the past few minutes of this match, and all that momentum is essentially on for him.
Yeah, I mean, the kill potential of just Clinks and Invoker together. You Cold Snap and Orchid the person, and what can they do? Not a single hero on Arrow Gaming's lineup can survive against just the Invoker and Clinks together. And they are dealing with heroes that have a lot of powerful invisibility. We saw how great that can be. Oh, dropping a Sentry Ward. Yamate in a bad spot. The Burrow Strike will connect with the Blink, and they're going to be able to burst him down with Searing Chains. Very nicely done. Great awareness from Mozen. He sees him just on the outskirts of the tier 1 tower, drops down the sentry, and with a perfect blink is able to pin him down. So that's exactly what they need to do, is really get the sentry wards down and rout the enemy before they can make their strike.
Yeah, exactly. That's certainly what they need to be doing. Very good pickoff from Arrow, preventing the momentum from going too much into Titan's favor, and giving DDZ a little bit of help as well. Bring him out of the picture at least for the next 10 seconds or so. So at this time, it's 6-5. Titan currently in the lead, and they're at a slight advantage, I would say, Blaze, but really it's still quite too early to tell who's victor here.
Yeah, the Clinks in general is a hero that has a lot of potential threat. I mean, 100% win rate with the early Orchid, but he hasn't generated all the momentum in the world off of it. Has gotten 2 kills, 1 assist, not too shabby, but we have seen that he is indeed mortal, that they do have the potential to bring him down with all these magic-based disables. So until he gets another item and then follows through with the BKB, I'm not sure if he can really secure the game for himself, but he's still a major threat. We'll see him get actually no creeps to use his ulti on. Death Pact, you want the highest HP creep, and right now he's not really getting a lot of spawns for that. Only a couple on the western camp there. Either way, he'll pick up a little one just to get a little bit of an extra buffer there, and will make his move maybe down bottom, as there is no tower to thwart his endeavors.
I also like that Titan really focused down the Bristleback earlier on in the game, because he's a pretty darn tanky hero. I could see him kind of surviving some of Titan's combos, but because he did so bad early on, he just now has his mech at the 15-minute mark, which is going to be nice, but he's not as tanky as you'd normally like Bristleback, I feel. regardless of that, Arrow, they have a 4-man smoke, and they're heading right into the enemy's ancient area, and soon between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 towers. The smoke's off, so we're going to see if they actually make a fight happen. There's a lot of Titans there. Okay, how comes the shackle? Holy crap, the right damage instantly blows the top net, and there's going to be a little bit of counter initiation. Ohio able to get a kill of his own. Currently Titan, they're down 2 members, down 3. Arrow getting a really good trade, but December skirt, he has to run away at least for the time being. Still, pretty darn good. So back. Oh, I know. He's caught in the wards. He's caught in the wards, is most likely going to end up falling. Buyback from the Nyx Assassin as well, trying to help out as much as he can, but he's hit by the steering chains. Blow and help, it's a dieback. KOA XY falling as well. Titans seem to be falling apart throughout this engagement.
Yeah, even Xiangzai is still alive right now. Yamate will go for one last right click to bring down DDZ towards the mid, but Xiangzai is getting out. They even get the arrow onto net. Now, they don't really want to mess with that, with Klink's just getting his resurgence here. Lance, actually, with a Ghost Scepter, will dodge out a couple right clicks, but sets up the Finger of Death with that magical damage amplification. So, yeah, a very, very interesting exchange. It looks like they're not done yet. Mosen going with the Epicenter Burrow Strike solo onto Yamate, but he was near full HP and walks away with 140. Going for the double damage rune. Is he going to open up with the silence? Huge damage on Mosen, and he will get the kill. I was going to say this went handily in favor of Arrow, as there was diebacks, there was so much prominence in this mid lane. But when it's all said and done, they did lose quite a few for that exchange.
Yeah, that was insane how fast that Sand King died to the right clicks from the Klinks, and that was without the double damage that Yamate has picked up now. Shouldn't really make much of a difference until it runs out. But yeah, it's 10-10, so I feel like with the forced buyback into dieback, it's slightly in Arrow's court. And we did see that Mirana got to pick up a few extra kills as well. But still, I would say Arrow has a little bit of an edge in that engagement. It's still relatively even. And Ember Spirit, Amber Ohio, and I'm going to say up towards that Tier 1 tower. I don't know if they're going to be able to defend it. Alright, comes Ember Spirit. He's stunned though. Gets that AoE. And misses the Syrian Chains, unfortunately. Away. Going to see Titan run away. There's a sheep though in Ohio, and he's not escaping this one. He's going to be down for the count. 4 members of Arrow did come, actually 5 total, came to the top. They're going to be able to deny the top tower, but at that same time, Titan did get the mid tower, and they're already putting a lot of pressure onto the Tier 2 middle tower.
Yeah, feeling a lot of gold and map control momentum here. We do see them making their stand. They're going to come in. Blink Burrow is available. The steering chains was a little bit off the mark, but still might be in a good position here. Oh, a lot of damage. DDZ gets a very nice sleight of fist, dodges the Sunstrike, but is it enough? Being lifted up by the telekinesis? Yes, mech'd up, and there she goes. They do bring down the Invoker. Won't be able to chase any further beyond that, but they kept their tower up. Like you said, if they were looking to deny, they have that option. But look at Yamate just running up in Skeleton Walk to try to bring him down. Now we do see X is going to be picked off here. Easy kills with these nukes. But Klink's up on the top lane, just right-clicks down the tower, and at least makes it a tower kill. Mirana, of course, finishing off the mid lane. So gold flying everywhere. Both teams are getting farmed as all get out with all these towers falling. But it has been a really interesting series. And I gotta say, this mech couldn't have come out at a better time. Like, sure, he was delayed insanely hard, but as soon as they got the mechanism, that's when the smoke movement came in for that mid lane fight that we saw coming in from the Radiant Ancients and down the hill once they dropped that ward. And that was really when the mech started shining, and has subsequently in the past 2 team fights been extremely effective at keeping people alive, making sure the Titan have to focus down harder and harder on a single target, and it's really been to their benefit.
You there, Blaze? You're popping in and out on my on the Skype call for me. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
No, you're fine over here, so I'm not too sure what's going on there.
Okay, cool. Just you're popping in and out during that last big fiasco, but okay, I can hear you fine now.
Cool.
And yeah, so Arrow, they've managed to get definitely a bit of an edge, like you mentioned, Blaze. From what I did hear of you, the mechanism came at a great time and made a pretty big difference in these team fights. Certainly keeping Ember Spirit from drowning out of HP, the Titan. They're moving forward, and they're going to get the Hex onto Ember Spirit, but there's a lot of other members from Arrow coming in around as well. It's just going to be a big Fast team fight. Sand King is going to die, as well as the Ember Spirit Titan. Despite Lion being low on health, he is going to survive. Yamate trying to chase, he should be able to get Shadow Shaman, and that's a 3-for-0 trade, tying up the game 13-13. Once again, it's a very, very back and forth, but the action's not over, as we're going to see Lance. He's silenced up, but uses that Ghost Scepter, and he's just going to go ahead and teleport out of there.
Yeah.
So
really solid item decision-making from the Marana in general. Lance now finally finishes up his Linken's. 21 minutes isn't too bad, but the reason he hasn't died twice now is because he decided to just kind of go step by step, break it down, get the purse, and then go for the Ghost Scepter, which keeps him alive against Clinks and Nyx. Actually worked out really well. It looks like there's going to be a retreat down on bottom, but DDZ is going ham! Big steering checker, but I think this might have been an overextension.
Oh, this is definitely an overextension. He gets fingered to death. But the rest of Arrow, they're joining in the fight. They want to get revenge for their fallen comrade. They're going to get the Lion. Moving in. Can they interrupt Titan? No. He's going to teleport home to safety. So, not the best of trades. Shipping out the Ember Spirit for the Lion. And I also want to mention Ember Spirit. He's 3-6 this game. He only has some very basic items with the 4-man shield as well as drums, bottle, some phase boots. Not really doing too amazing as far as items go, but Arrow, they're going to go ahead and rotate into the Roshan pit. Just 2 of their members trying to take it out. At the same time, though, Sunstrike does get a nice kill on the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, and without the Shadow Shaman, I actually don't think they can do the Roche. Like, they were going in, they got the arrow off, they, of course, have the Viscous Nasal Goo, which can do a lot of work against Roche's armor, but bottom line is they needed the Mass Serpent Wards to actually secure it, and since that pickoff happened, they knew that the Nyx was lurking about, they didn't feel confident in it, and the end result is now they don't get that precious golden experience. We do see DDZ again in some danger, but the Orchid dispels, and now he seems to be in an okay position. In fact,
doing a little bit of juking. Oh, Sand King.
Arrow hit!
With the best stuff. Well, the arrow hit's good, and they got a lot of disable. They also have the dust on him as well. And we should see a death. No, wait, Yamata's still around. There's a sheep. DDZ trying to stay alive. He gets the kill. They're going to move in on that next land. Arrow follow-up, right click, down goes the Lion. So despite... Well, hold on a second, as Johnny's joining the fight as well. They're moving in on Ohio. Looks like Arrow going to get a kill. Well, once again, but the Sunstrike kills off Ember Spirit. Oh, man. Despite him surviving the main engagement, he can't escape Wrath of the Invoke.
Talk about fighting fire with fighter. That's really just a painful way to end the fight, but still a great exchange. I mean, Mosin sacrificing himself to set up 2, and then honestly, Ohio just walked right into that. The Dire had an Observer Ward on the top rune spawn. He walked right in without Vendetta. He had it off cooldown, but he's just strolling in, and the end result is a very unfortunate death for him with absolutely no spells cast. And of course, just a really solid exchange for Arrow. I mean, yeah, they got their arrows off from the Marana. Lance certainly pulling his weight now, and this is exactly how they wanted the lineup to go. Now, they still are kind of on the defensive. They have to worry about all these gank movements from the Invis heroes. Of course, it looks like Yamate is out for some farm, and then he'll be out for blood with his 8-second BKB currently.
I do like the BKB pickup, though. Really over another damage item, just not playing too cocky, I suppose. And you know what? Titans still have a single tier 1 tower left, so they're not doing too bad on towers as far as they go. I'm wondering when the next Roshan fight is going to be, because we did see Arrow move into the pit a little earlier on in the game. They kind of wanted to take out Roshan, but when they lost the Shadow Shaman, they're forced away. And I guess they're pinging there. I think both teams kind of they're starting to think about Roshan.
Yeah, both kind of gathering around. We do have 2 points in the Serpent Wards as well as 2 points in the Epicenter. Yeah, Bristleback's level 12 as well, so he has this ulti packing a little more punch as well. But it really comes down to, I believe, the Serpent Wards and the Epicenter, where those are positioned, and how quickly DDZ gets bursted down, or if he survives. That's going to be the defining factor of this. But it looks like the smoke movement, they do have the Observer Ward on Rubik, and that's going to be enough for DDZ to get out of dodge. And they might regroup here. Arrow gonna fly, but not gonna hit on anything. Oh, Burrow Strike though! Wow, they really want to commit to this.
Alright, they're gonna go with the Sunstrike follow-up, and we're gonna have to see Sand King get out of there, but no! That blinks forward, he gets the finger off, there's the death. Spear's activated, now Yamate, he's going ham on the Arrow heroes, just trying to man mode them. Ghost Scepter, focusing the Clinks okay for the time being. Arrow just barely
Dire's
misses
middle
him
tower
very,
is under
very
attack.
close. And
Dire's
it looks
structures
like
are
this
fortified.
engagement will be at a conclusion, and when all's said and done, it's just supports dying on both ends.
Yeah, they really couldn't follow up with more of a fight without the Rasta and the Sand King. They were the ones who initiated. They went very deep into that play, and they were easy pickings for the Clinks. I was talking about Ghost Scepter before, and really the only one that's picked it up is a hero that's half a right-clicker and half a caster, the Marana. So I'm kind of thinking that that really needs to be a focus for at least the Shadow Shaman, if not the Sand King. But in the meantime, down on bottom, we're going to see DDZ overextending, trying to farm out the creep wave, and he is going to be picked off by that dual invis combo. I mean, you look at the sentry wards on the map, Dire has nothing right now, and it's so easy for them to get picked off.
Yeah, look at Yamate. He is just on the edge, waiting to see if there's someone he can pick off. We're seeing a few sentry wards being placed around the map, looking for an invisible hero to get. Okay, hold on. Shadow Shaman, he's silenced, and the mech keeping him alive for a little bit longer, but it's not enough. Yamate grabs the kill. They're going to move in on first attack next, and a lot of right-click damage coming in from Titan. A few spells and nukes as well. They get the kill. Titan, it looks like they're slowly starting to go ahead in this game, and Boker, meanwhile, at the middle lane, doing a little bit of push forward, but let's see Sand King move forward. Do a little bit of stun. There's a lot of reverse stun. Oh no! He's picked off the rotation from Titan. They've all decided to move towards the middle lane, and with 3 members down and a severely underfarmed Ember Spirit, it looks like this tower is going to fall, and we could potentially see some barracks fall. After that, Titan though, moving forward onto Ember Spirit. DDZ, no! Oh man. He almost was able to activate those remnants and get away, but it wasn't enough. And on the back of that, Blaze, it looks like these barracks are going to fall.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get racks. I don't know about Roche follow-through, but they got the melee, they've got the range, no problem at all. And they're even finishing up some Slice of Ice. Like, this game has gone to hell in a handbasket in 2 minutes flat. Arrow just getting picked off left and right, and I was talking about their lack of sentry wards. You look at the map now, and literally 20 seconds after I said that, they dropped down 3 sentry wards. Just the last one that they dropped was right under a BKB Clinks, and he was already ready to rumble against Shadow Shaman, finishes him off, and they follow through pick-off after pick-off after pick-off. It's just a daisy chain of kills, and they're able to get so much out of it. They now are leading 24-19 and finishing off the melee and range racks in the mid. They have a huge amount of momentum, and it's on Arrow to really seal the deal within the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes. They have to get a commanding position of this game.
I don't know, Blaze. I can't necessarily see it with this Ember Spirit being so underfarmed. I mean, he has an Ogre Club. He's working towards a Black King bar. That's an item that you generally don't like to get on the Ember Spirit earlier on. While if we look over in Titan's corner, they don't have one Scythe of Vice, they have 2 of them, both on the Clinks and the Invoker, man. It's pretty insane as far as disables go. And that doesn't include all of the other disables, just as normal abilities coming out from Titan.
Yeah, that's and of course they get the True Sight from the Necro 3 now, so that's really good against Moonlight Shadow, against Sandstorm, and against all these Sentry Wards, being able to clean those up no problem at all. And they just have such a great position. They have to keep on spending money. You see these Sentry Wards dropping out left and right, and they still don't feel comfortable in this position. They're going to smoke up the hill, right into Yamate. Will they get the dust in time? No, he gets hexed up, and with a free kill! 1v5, he TPs away! Look at that!
What? That is absolutely insane! Yamate, this guy is out of control, ladies and gentlemen. He just man-moded 5 members from Arrow, didn't even give one single care, right-click to victory, and oh man, that's got to be demoralizing for
extremely! Like, what do you do if you're not safe as 5 against 1 hero? Oh man, I mean, the one thing that they have going for them is the BKB keeps getting lower. It was a 6-second BKB, now down to 5, but he's gonna have crit soon, and this is just looking bleak.
Indeed it is. There's even a Gem of True Sight available, I believe, on the Titan's end as well. They've decided it's time to go ahead and put Roshan out of his misery. Go ahead, pick up that Aegis, which should be going to Yamate. I mean, he is 12-2, so I would imagine that he would pick up that Aegis. He does. And yeah, it's just going to come down to when Titan want to push that top tower, or if they want to go for the bottom racks.
Yeah, they have to be thorough about it. There's still the tier 2 up there, but it's going to take a miracle for Arrow to really pull this one out. I mean, they do have the Manta style up on the Mirana. That's a way to dispel Orchid, but I don't know. They up against 2 sides of ice. This is pretty much the nail in the coffin for me. Now finding another double damage rune. We saw how hard he could wreck the Sand King with his first double damage rune. It's going to be outrageous with this one. Also has a really good death packed off. But here comes the Moonlight Shadow, and we'll see if Arrow can make anything happen in the last few moments.
Well, Lance is at least going to reveal himself. So they do just take out the offensive warding from Titan. And Yamate just going to continue the farm up. He does have his Chrysalis at this point, so the right-click damage, it's going to be very strong in this one. And, okay, a little bit of dewarding from Titan as well.
Tactical click control.
Ooh. Nice arrow on net. Hits him. Alright, and in comes Ember Spirit. It's going to go ahead, use the steering chains as well. Down comes Ron doing a little bit of nuke damage. It's looking pretty good for Arrow, but oh, they lost the Ember Spirit 1 for 1. Ohio forced the Vendetta, run away a little bit. I don't know. Playing C is just going to go to town on these members. They kill them down 1 by 1. Invoker as well. Throwing down a meatball. A lot of damage done overall. And Arrow, they've lost 4 members. They only have the Mirana left. And what can she do against a 4 squad from Titan? They're going to get that top tower quite easily. And it looks to be a pretty easy barracks action.
Yeah, they don't have buybacks on anybody but Bristleback, and this is just ugly. The Sand King initiated with his burrow onto 2 and got immediately hit by Spike Carapace and stunned out. Nice little arrow to delay it, but it's still going to be an easy tier 3. That's at the very least. We do see coming in, X actually stole a burrow strike too, so not only did he not really change too much with his burrow and going for the burrow blink instead of the epicenter, but now X has the burrow strike as well, actually leap this time around. But I don't know, it's very ugly, and we do see them just finishing off the tier 3 real quick. A nice little hex, but they force staff him away.
Yeah, a little bit of counter hex. Oh god, the damage is ridiculous coming out from Yamata. We're going to see DDZ try to make something happen. He does kill up Rubik, tries to get Ohio, but just not enough. Arrow, they have managed to at least activate the Aegis, force that to get popped. And Yamate is still trying to do a little bit of right-clicking. Ohio returning to the fight, throwing out a few stuns and disables. KYXY as well, helping out. That was actually looking like a little bit of a more even fight from Arrow's end, but I still don't know if it'll be enough.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the defender's advantage here, but as a whole, they're just so far behind that even if they can dissuade them from taking the racks now, there's nothing to allow them to go out of their base. Plain and simple, in this position, they have to pretty much 5-man everywhere they go, and this just gives a farm advantage to Titan. They can just spread that advantage a little bit wider, and really, where's the scalability on Arrow's lineup? The Bristleback, he can technically carry if he gets like 5 or 6 slotted, but we're not seeing that, and along with that, the Ember Spirit's item progression has been stifled for the past 10 minutes. I mean, we see him now with an Ogre Club, as well as drums and phase boots. Like, this is not where he wanted to be at 34 minutes in the game. That's an understatement of the century, but it's true.
There was also a little bit of an engagement between the Sand King and Clinks. Clinks actually could have right-clicked him to death and kind of just walked past. I think he overestimated the amount of damage he would have been able to do to kill off the Sand King. So essentially giving up a kill for free. But still, for Titan, it's not the biggest deal in the world. They have a pretty seizable advantage under their belt in their corner. But yeah, December Spirit, if he had some farm, I could totally see this game still being, in either of the team's court. But Titan, they just have so many big items on their heroes now. It's going to be really hard for Arrow to get back into this game. Yeah,
even the Invoker seems a little bit trolling around right now. KYXY picks up a Refresher Orb. So we've got double Scythe of Ice. He can refresh his Necronomicon minions when they fall. And, of course, he can just spam out his spells. Double Meteor, double Deafenings. It's going to get pretty ridiculous.
Indeed it is. Arrow, they're smoked up. Getting really close to Titan. I think they spot Net. Oh, just barely misses the arrow, but Net's still going to fall. There's a lot of burst DPS there. In comes the Sand King. He has his Epicenter doing a lot of damage. They're going to get X. And Invoker, force the pop, Refresh Orb, doing a little bit of damage, but Arrow actually getting an extremely good engagement, picking off 3 people, losing 0. where the hell is the rest of Titan, man? They're off farming, it seems.
Yeah, they did not expect that movement from Arrow. They did not think that they would be as gung-ho about taking the fight, and they didn't have their full lineup there. So the big damage dealer, especially Yamate, not in the picture. He's getting his last few creeps, and now is hunting. We'll find Mosin for sure, but yeah, Nyx even takes it. It's like, oh, yeah, typical Nyx team fight contribution. Mana burn, right-click once. But, yeah, I don't know. That was 3 kills they didn't need to give up. Killing spree gold going the way of the Bristleback. Maybe they'll find something with it. They are only technically 1 racks down. It's just this farm disadvantage. You look at the net worth chart, and Clinks is outpacing every single member other than Lance by 2-fold. I mean, Bristleback's at 10k, Clinks is at 21k. Ember Spirit, he was the one that was handed a first blood mid lane, and then he sits at 7,400. It's 36 minutes in. It's just a very dire state for them, and I just don't see that changing.
I kind of wish that DDZ actually, after he died a few times, was like his teammates like yelled at him and told him like, go to the jungle and don't come out until you have a battle fury. Something like that I would have been a little bit happier to see coming from the Ember Spirit, because you really need that battle fury if you want to be effective late game, which we have seen the Ember Spirit not making really the biggest of contributions to the fight beyond a little bit of burst damage and, you know, a little bit of disable of the Searing Chains. But really beyond that, he's not the force you're expecting from an Ember Spirit 37 minutes into the match. Yeah,
I think you'd be happy with just a BKB. Like right now, Sand King's already splitting up their targets. They won't clump up with three individuals, maybe 2. They will have the Fort Spirits and Necronomicon to cleave off of, but for the most part, it's just going to be them spreading out as much as possible. And DDZ, he just wants to survive his single Meteor Deafening Blast, because really, that they send 2 nukes his way, and even with Flame Guard, he's evaporating. Now, I do see Klink's going to be the initiator. Johnny going to be able to blink away, but still getting the Hex off. And the BKB pops. There's one, and the rest will fall with him, I'm sure.
That's looking like it. All right, we're going to see Ohio moving forward. Rubik lifting up Bristleback into the air, and he's going to be smacked into the ground with the Meteor. And Yamate, beyond gun-like, looking for a few more kills. And Arrow is just, they're split up around the map, man. They are completely disorganized and looking pretty ratted at this point. They should end up losing this top barracks, most likely.
Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's top
in this position, I mean, Yamate, they were able to kill him once, but he had the Aegis. Now he has the Daedalus, and he's just so strong to be able to bring down these racks, no problem. There is a nice little backhand from the Mirana, who will leap and I believe survive, but you know, it's just distraction. The epicenter here not going to do nearly enough damage. Mosin going to get picked off, and that's pretty much going to be it.
Dire's top barracks has fallen. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Johnny, like, look at these servant wards, just desperately trying to make something happen, but the BKB, short duration means shorter cooldown. He pops it off, no problem at all, and is able to walk out of there. So that's 4 racks disadvantage. They're down 17,000 gold, 20,000 experience, and all Titan has to do is retreat from here. Like, this is actually quite ugly indeed. But it's only game 1. It's a full best-of-5 series. There are potentially 5 games that we'll see here today, so even if Arrow go down with one last fight, they are still going to be having multiple games to pull themselves out of it. It's a disadvantage, of course, but not one that will definitively cost them the match.
Blaze, like, I couldn't hear you through most of that last engagement. You're popping in and out for me, unfortunately.
Okay, we'll redo the call after this game here, but it looks like we're going to be pretty much seeing the last movement, so if you want to take it from here, just so we don't have any more communication breakdowns.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on, but Skype deciding that it doesn't want to necessarily behave. That's, at least from this point, Titan have a pretty firm grasp on the game. It's looking like only a matter of time before they take down the final Tier 3 tower in those barracks and ensure their victory. The last few team fights have just been pretty much in their ball court for the most part. And you know what's something funny I've noticed here, Blaze, is we actually have a Rod of Atos purchased on the Nyx Assassin. Not an item you see every day, let alone on the Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Gives them the mana pool, allows them to stay on target, but hell, I mean, they're in Scythe tier right now, so I don't know if it makes all that much difference other than a little bit of extra durability. But here's the third double damage rune of the game, and look at those crits fly. 1,000 damage going the way of Roche. He'll mitigate some of that, but certainly not enough. Aegis will come down, and it looks like it's going to go to...
Who's going to get it?
Deny it! KOXY! Deny!
No, he's gonna take it, man. He's gonna take the Aegis. Invoker also has a Blink Dagger in his inventory as well, so extra mobility for the Invoker. He is almost 6-slotted at this point. He has basically all the items you could really want on him, I guess, besides maybe a Scepter, but hey man, that's what the Refresh Orb is for. So Titan just moving in towards the final tier 3 racks. This should be maybe one of the last 2 fights. Going to see Bristleback. He's stunned up. He's still taking a lot of punishment, but Yamate moving to the high ground, deciding he's going to think better, move back for the time being. Ember Spirit moving in as well with the BKB, trying to do some right-click damage. Anyway, XY though, pretty darn durable, and surprisingly enough, still no deaths. Ohio forced to use that spike carapace. And what a standoff. I did not expect that, but nobody died.
Yeah, I mean, like, GDZ finally gets his BKB, and then all he's able to do is jump in and Searing Chains, and then dash right back out. So, I don't know, this was pretty much the best opportunity they had for the past, like, 10 minutes, because he did have a 10-second BKB charge. They did have the high ground aspect of a Sand King with that 2 points at Epicenter, but they just get to kind of walk about. I mean, even Yamate, like, he wasted a lot of time there. Like, he didn't have vision on the Moonlight Shadow Bristleback. He went nearly right into the enemy base with his BKB expiring. It's only 4 seconds long, but they weren't able to capitalize on it. Mosin didn't connect with his Burrow Strike, and Clinks just walks away. So, yeah, like you said, surprisingly, few kills, actually no kills at all, but just opening up for the final hurrah of Titan moving in.
Yeah, I suppose so. And yeah, just to reiterate on the point you mentioned, how the Clinks waste a lot of time. Like up at that tier 3 tower, he kind of walked up and down the stairs, and he could have been right-clicking like an extra 4 or 5 times. Up in the high on the top lane, Mosin, he was stunned. We're gonna see a few blinks, a little more disables coming in. Net, he's gonna net himself a kill, gets the Finger of Death. That's in comes a Ember Spirit. He's getting right-clicked down by Yamate though. Moves away for the time being. In comes the rest of Titan. They're throwing out the nukes and damage. Already the Shadow Shaman is down. They've managed to take 2 more kills. The GG is called. Arrow knows. There's no coming back from that deficit. So GG, well played by Titan, but Arrow, they had a good start. It's just that it seems like DBZ, him dying so much over the course of the game, really prevented them from being a strong force when it comes to the late game.
Really, it just they didn't have the momentum they needed with the cliffing of the Bristleback. Bristleback is the one hero that could survive against that 10-minute Orchid from the Clinks, and he's the one hero that didn't have any farm or experience to do so. Of course, Mirana was able to circumvent that by going back for a Ghost Scepter and playing a more defensive build, and so that was a bit of a tax on her, but in general, it's just the presence of the Clinks, the presence of the gank-oriented Invis lineup. It just shows that when you get more kills, you can really just control the game so much more effectively. So, unfortunately, we didn't see enough from Arrow this time around, but they're going to try to bounce back in Game 2 of this best-of-5 series here in the finals of Series 1, this Western Digital Dota 2 Pro Series. So, yeah, really solid play from Titan. Love to see the Yamate Clinks just dishing out the damage, and we'll see if that's even on the ban table for Arrow, as that was just a sight to see. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the game. We'll be going on into the Game 2 in just a few minutes here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, this match is brought to you by Western Digital. They're the ultimate reliability from the trusted name in storage, and specifically highlighting the Western Digital Black Series, which is designed with performance in mind for gaming and so on and so forth. So that's going to be it for Game 1. Moving on to Game 2 in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in. I am Blaze, casting for Dota Talk TV 2. You can check him out on twitter.com/blazecasting, alongside Whiplash. He's over on twitter.com/yeahwhiplash. So good game.